Alright boys, so today I want to talk about Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, and I want to talk about my thoughts and opinions of it coming from the Destiny community and seeing how, if you are a Destiny player, how well you can kind of transition into this game. And honestly, I think it does transition pretty well. Disclaimer, there's going to be no spoilers, you don't have to worry about anything. I have not beaten the game, I'm actually not even that far in the game. Also, I'm still building up my builds and stuff like that, so the gameplay you're not seeing like the most optimized builds or anything like that, so don't get on me for anything like that. Also, I don't want to mention any of the server issues that are happening with the game right now. Yes, it's a big problem and it's a humongous issue, but the core of the game is still good. You can still play offline, so it's not like you can't play because of the server issues. You just can't play multiplayer because of the server issues, which you don't really need to play multiplayer to enjoy this game anyway. But I know a lot of people do enjoy playing with their friends, so if that's something that you're looking forward to doing right now, might not be the best time to do it. There's a lot of latency, sometimes you just get disconnected and stuff like that, but once they figure that out, I think it'll be much better. So I've been playing Borderlands since the first game released back in 2009, I believe, and I've been playing them ever since then. I play every single one that releases, and I really enjoy the story. I love the combat, I love the loot, and I love the builds that you can create. There's so many different kinds of ways you can play this game. So this isn't my first Borderlands type of game, so I do have experience with them. But I would say that this one feels just a bit different than the other ones. Now maybe it's just me, maybe it's just because it's new, it's fresh, I'm excited to play in. I've been playing Destiny for so long and so much recently, so maybe that has something to do with it. But it feels like they're kind of taking the RPG elements of Borderlands and they're making it 10 times more important in this game. First thing, which is very obvious, is the character creator. Before, in every Borderlands game, all you had was like the different head skins and the different like color skins or whatever, but now you can create your own character. Essentially, you make him big, you can make it have big eyes, small eyes, big ears, elf ears, long hair, bald, beard, scars, tattoos. Like, there's so many different ways you can make your own fate maker unique, and you can make him you if you want, or you make him super wacky. Looking on Reddit, there's all kinds of different fate makers. Like, people recreated Shrek, handsome Squidward, so it's really funny, and you can do some pretty crazy things. You can also do some pretty cool things, so they're really making it your own. You're not playing as just one of the characters that they made, you're playing as your type of character. Like my guy, I'm a graveborn, and it's almost like a dark elf. I made like a dark elf graveborn, and it's really cool, and I think it fits the aesthetic of the graveborn class. So if you were playing something like the clawbringer, which is more of like the paladin tank type of class, you have a big hammer, you can make someone that looks more like a knight, like very glorious knight if you want to. Like, there's definitely more of a self-expressive element in this game, and I think it's really cool. Now, when it comes to creating builds, obviously there's always going to be like the meta, there's going to be the best thing in the game, and that goes for any game ever created. There's always going to be the best thing, the best build to run in the game, best weapons to use. But in this game, I feel like they're really opening it up with the multi-class system. Now, I haven't gotten to that point in the game, but from what I understand, and I haven't really looked too much into it because I want to see it when I first get there and I want to experiment with it, but it seems as though you can kind of pick a secondary class and use some of the perks and skills that they have on their class tree. So for example, I'm playing the Graveborn. That is my primary class, right? I use the action skill from them, which is the one where you sacrifice some health, you do a big AoE attack, and you drain life from nearby enemies. But if I wanted to also pick, let's say, the spell shot, which I've actually played quite a bit of spell shot as well, as my secondary class, which is more about the spells and having double spells in each hand, I can kind of spec into that and use some of the perks that they get from the spell shot skill tree. So I think that that's very unique to Borderlands, because before, every class was definitely very like, if you want to play Zero, let's say from Borderlands 2, that's it. You're only going to be like the assassin. Or if you want to play the Gunzerker, or if you want to play Moze from Borderlands 3, like that's it. You're only playing that. You're using what they have in their skill tree. But in this game, if I wanted to be a Graveborn, but then let's say I also wanted to spec into the Berserker, which is a melee focused class, I can do that. And that would kind of synergize very well, because the Graveborn thrives when they're surrounded by enemies, and then the Berserker, you want to be meleeing enemies. So I think that's a very cool, unique build idea. I've been thinking about it a lot. but you can do something like that. And if you want to be, let's say, a spell shot and then have a spore warden as your secondary class, which is about companions and the icing and the bow and arrow and critical hits, you can do that. So I think that there's a lot of build potential with this game, which is definitely very good for the Borderlands series, because there's all kinds of loot, there's all kinds of stats on the loot, there's definitely different like spells and all kinds of things that can influence your gameplay. And the fact that they made this multi-class system definitely accentuates that, and it emphasized the build crafting in this game. One thing that I think transitions very well if you're coming from the Destiny franchise is the fact that a lot of enemies in this game have weapons, and I don't believe that that was the case in previous Borderlands games, which I think is very unique, because coming from a game like Destiny where pretty much every single enemy has weapons, you're able to very easily fit into the combat or get used to the combat in this game, because I feel like previously in Borderlands most weapons, or most enemies, sorry, had like melee attacks, they would rush you down. I mean, I know that enemies had weapons in previous Borderlands games, but I feel like it's definitely a lot more in this game, which you do gotta play a little bit safer because they hit hard. But if you're used to playing Destiny, if you're doing like GMs or Master Nightfalls or hard raids or anything like that, you're used to getting hit really hard by these enemies. So the transition is very smooth there if you're coming from Destiny. Now, I don't know what the end game is looking like for Wonderlands. Now, there could be something like raids. I know that there is dungeons, but we'll see how far they go when it comes to like mechanic based or the enemy density in the game. I feel like they're definitely going to take a page out of the book of Diablo and make it so that way the dungeons are more enemy density focused as opposed to like mechanic focused, which is what Destiny does. There's also these things called chaos chambers, which I don't really know what they are either, but it looks like there is some activities to do once you get to the end of the game, and that's just the beginning. Of course, you want to level up your character, perfect your build so that we can do some of these harder activities. Oh, and one thing that I'm really enjoying about this game, and this maybe is just my preference, I don't know, there hasn't been an area I've been to where there is a big open spaces for vehicles. And I know that that's kind of like an integral part to the Borderlands series, but I'm really liking the fact that all the locations are just, you just have to walk everywhere, run everywhere. I didn't really like the vehicle system in previous Borderlands game. I felt like it was just like, oh, I'm just driving my vehicle to get to where I have to go anyway. But the fact that they made that so that way it's just every location is you have to run everywhere, makes it so that way you're forced to explore, you're forced to really engage with the world in ways that I didn't really do previously in Borderlands games. I would just take the vehicle, get to where I have to go, hop out, do what I have to do, come back, take the vehicle back. Like now you're forced to run around, you're forced to find some of the hidden secrets in the map, which I think is very cool. All in all, I think that this is a fantastic game, and definitely once they fix their server issues, this game is going to blow up, and I think it already is. A lot of people are enjoying it. I know that had a very high viewer count on Twitch recently, so hopefully that stays. Hopefully more people play this game, we get more fame makers in this game, more people to play, because the more players means the more content, means the longer the life cycle is for this game. And I don't know, I'm really looking forward to playing this game long term. I think it's very fun. I'm definitely going to add some builds to my channel. So if you want to play Wonderlands and you want to know some of the cool builds you can do, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, and definitely stay tuned for more. Deuces.